Feel it first. You have been sold a lie. For your entire life, you have been taught that if you change your circumstances, you will change your life. You believe that when the money arrives, you will finally feel secure. You believe that when the perfect partner appears, you will finally feel loved. You believe that when the stress subsides, you will finally feel peace. You are waiting for the world to move first. You are waiting for the external to validate the internal. There is an ancient, profound truth that has been whispered through the ages, according to your faith be it unto you. Most people hear that and think it means, if you believe enough, you will get what you want. But that is a surface-level misunderstanding. Faith is not a hopeful wish. Faith is not an intellectual agreement with a set of ideas. Faith is emotional certainty. Faith is feeling. When you look at your financial struggles, your anxiety, or the persistent self-doubt that keeps you small, you are looking at the harvest of your past feelings. The subconscious mind is not a vault for your desires, it is a mirror for your dominant emotional state. It does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you feel is true. If you are waiting for a better future while feeling the lack of it, you are locked in a cycle of repetition. You are arguing for your limitations again. You are convinced that your reality is a fact, when it is merely a belief anchored in old emotional habits. It is time to stop acting like a victim of your circumstances. You are not a spectator in your own life, you are the architect. But you have been building with the wrong materials, using the fear, doubt, and scarcity of the past to construct the blueprints for your tomorrow. You are about to embark on a journey that will dismantle your current way of operating. We are going to strip away the excuses you have used to protect your comfort zone. We are going to go beneath the surface of your life to the invisible engine of your consciousness. You are ready for this, or you would not be here. Stop negotiating with your potential. The comfort zone called, and it is time for you to hang up the phone. Prepare to move from fear toward faith. Prepare to realize that your future self is watching this very moment, waiting for you to make the choice that changes everything. The secret is not in the struggle. The secret is in the state. Feel it first. Summary of introduction. The misconception, changing circumstances does not change your life, changing your emotional state does. Defining faith, faith is not intellectual belief, it is emotional certainty and feeling. The subconscious mirror. The subconscious mind reflects what you feel to be true, not what you want. The call to action, stop acting like a victim. Chapter 1, The Invisible Force Running Your Life. Look at your life as it stands today. Take a long, honest look at your bank account, your closest relationships, the state of your health, and the quality of your daily thoughts. What do you see? If you are like most people, you see a collection of facts. You see a set of circumstances that you believe are simply the way things are. You have spent years convincing yourself that these external conditions are the objective reality, a solid, unmoving landscape that you must navigate as best you can. You are mistaken. What you are looking at is not reality. It is a mirror. What you are observing is the physical manifestation of your dominant emotional state. Everything you see around you, the limitations you struggle with, the people who trigger you, the opportunities that seem to pass you by, is nothing more than your internal world reflected back to you. You have been walking around believing you are a passenger in a world that happens to you, when in truth, you are the projector of the film playing on the screen of your life. This is the invisible force running your life, mental causation. Before a thought can become a thing, it must be filtered through a feeling. You have likely heard people talk about the law of attraction, and you have probably tried to think positive to get what you want. But why does that rarely work for the long term? Why do you find yourself back in the same cycle of stress or disappointment, despite all your affirmations? It is because you are trying to change the reflection in the mirror by rubbing at the glass, while ignoring the person standing in front of it. You cannot change your life by changing circumstances, because circumstances are effects, not causes. If you try to force a change in your external world while your internal emotional state remains rooted in doubt, lack, or fear, you will find yourself in a constant, exhausting battle. You are arguing for your limitations, and the universe, or your subconscious, will always honor that argument. The world is a perfectly obedient servant, it provides you with whatever you feel yourself to be. If you feel like a person who is constantly, just getting by, then your life will provide you with evidence of that struggle. It has to. It is only obeying your own internal decree. If you feel like a person who is, on the verge of a breakthrough, but deep down you are terrified of failing, you will keep finding yourself in the middle of a plateau. You are leaking energy in two different directions, and that confusion is exactly what you are manifesting. Be honest with yourself. When you want more money, do you feel the thrill of expansion, or do you feel the anxiety of the bills currently sitting on your table? When you want a loving relationship, do you feel the warm glow of companionship, or do you feel the lonely ache of your current solitude? The subconscious does not care what you ask for. It only cares about what you occupy. If you occupy the state of wanting, you will get more wanting. You will get more circumstances that require you to want. You have been living in a state of emotional momentum, likely built over decades. You have practiced certain emotional responses to life until they have become your default setting. When something goes wrong at work, you instantly feel panicked. When a certain person calls, you immediately feel defensive. You have become very committed to a story that is no longer serving you, and because you repeat these emotional patterns every single day, you are literally conditioning your nervous system to expect them. You are keeping your future locked into the prison of your past. This is where you must stop acting like a victim. It is comfortable to blame the economy, your boss, your partner, or your upbringing. It is easy to point fingers at the out there. But the problem isn't out there. The problem is that you have been waiting for permission to change your internal state, and no one is going to give it to you. You are waiting for the world to improve before you dare to feel successful, happy, or whole. That is backwards. You are waiting instead of deciding. You must begin to understand that you are a creator, not a reactor. A reactor waits for a stimulus, a paycheck, a compliment, a good day, to determine their emotional state. A creator determines their emotional state first, and then waits for the world to catch up. There is a gap between who you are currently acting as and who you are capable of being. That gap is filled with the friction of your old habits. You might think, well, I can't just feel happy when I'm broke. But that is the precise moment where your power lies. You are not changing your reality by ignoring your bank account. You are changing your reality by refusing to let your bank account dictate your emotional truth. You are choosing to feel the frequency of the life you want, even while your current life is still catching up. Your emotions are not just feelings, they are vibrations. They are the language of the subconscious. If you want to change your life, you have to speak that language fluently. You have to stop reacting to the world and start imposing your internal vision upon it. This requires a level of emotional discipline that most people never achieve. It requires you to be the guardian of your own consciousness. When you wake up in the morning, do you immediately check your phone for news, emails, or social media? That is you looking at the bold reality and letting it set the tone for your day. You are reaffirming the past before you have even had a chance to create the future. You are giving away your power to the external world before your feet have even touched the floor. Your future self is watching this choice. Every time you choose to react with fear instead of responding with faith, you are casting a vote for a future that looks exactly like your past. You are negotiating with your potential, and you are losing. You possess enormous untapped potential, but it is currently buried under layers of habitual emotional responses. You have to dig it out. You have to become aware of the stories you are telling yourself about your life. Are they stories of limitation? Are they stories of how hard things are? Are they stories about why you can't have what you want? That is your ego talking, and it is terrified of you stepping into your true power. It wants you to stay in the familiar, because the familiar is safe, even if it is painful. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It wants you to remain the same person who feels the same things, day after day. But you are not here to repeat the past. You are here to evolve. You are here to master the invisible force that runs your life. You are here to stop letting your feelings be dictated by circumstance and start letting your circumstances be dictated by your feelings. It is time to take responsibility. When you change how you feel, you change the signal you are sending out. And when you change that signal, the entire universe has no choice but to respond. Summary. The mirror principle: your current reality is a reflection of your dominant emotional state, not an objective truth. The illusion of circumstance, attempting to change life by fixing external problems without shifting internal feelings, is a losing battle. The law of causation. The subconscious does not distinguish between current reality and your imagination, it reflects whatever you consistently occupy. Emotional momentum: you are currently trapped in cycles of reaction, you must move from a state of reacting to creating. The call to responsibility: you must stop allowing external stimuli, money, news, others' opinions, to dictate your internal frequency. Chapter 3: The Prison of Emotional Habit. You often speak as if you are a prisoner of circumstance, trapped by the choices of others, the state of the economy, or the limitations of your past. You point to your bank balance, your schedule, or your unfulfilled dreams and call them facts. But let us be clear, you are not a prisoner of your circumstances. You are a prisoner of your emotional habits. You have spent years, perhaps decades, practicing the same emotional responses to the same recurring triggers. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you feel anger. When the month ends and the bills are due, you feel the familiar tightening in your chest. When you think of a goal, you feel the dull ache of doubt. You have become so skilled at these reactions that they feel like you. They feel like a personality trait or a permanent temperament. They are not. They are simply habits. This is the essence of learned helplessness. You have taught your nervous system that when X happens, you must feel Y. Because you have repeated this sequence thousands of times, it has become an automated reflex. You no longer choose your response chooses you. You have become addicted to your own emotional chemistry. Your body craves the familiar surge of stress, the comfort of self-pity, or the validation found in playing the victim. It is a toxic addiction, but it is one you have mastered. This addiction to your own limitations is the primary reason you remain stuck. When you attempt to change, to dream bigger or act with more confidence, your body pulls you back to the familiar. It feels wrong to be confident when you are used to being insecure. It feels dishonest to feel wealthy when you have little cash. That discomfort you feel when trying to change, that is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. That is simply your nervous system protesting the loss of its favorite habit. It is time to be honest with yourself. Are you actually trying to change, or are you just rearranging your excuses? If you were a business owner, would you keep a manager who consistently lost money and lowered morale? Of course not. Yet, you are the CEO of your consciousness, and you continue to employ the same emotional managers: fear, procrastination, and self-doubt, who have been bankrupting your potential for years. Your excuses are working harder than you are. You have become very committed to a story that is no longer serving you, and as long as you keep telling that story, you will remain trapped in the same room. To escape this prison, you must cultivate the ability to pause between the trigger and the reaction. This is the first step toward self-mastery. When a trigger appears, a rejection, a setback, or a moment of doubt, you must consciously intervene. Instead of jumping into the familiar emotional pool, pause. Breathe. Recognize that the trigger is just a neutral event. It has no power unless you give it power by choosing your usual emotional response. Ask yourself, if I were the version of me who has already achieved this, how would I feel right now? That is not a hypothetical exercise. That is an act of defiance against your past. When you refuse to default to your old emotional habits, you begin to rewrite your internal programming. You must practice emotional hygiene. Just as you would not go months without washing your body, you cannot go days without cleansing your consciousness. If you find yourself slipping into a cycle of worry, recognize it immediately. Say to yourself, that's my ego talking, trying to pull me back into the comfort zone. Don't beat yourself up, just observe it, label it, and then redirect it. You have been giving away your power every time you agree with your fear. Stop it. Every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, or it's too hard, realize that you are simply repeating a script. You are an actor playing a role that is beneath your true nature. The script was written for you by your past, but you are the director now. You can change the lines. Try this simple awareness exercise. For the next 24 hours, treat your emotions like scientific data. Whenever you feel an intense emotion, stop and ask, is this feeling moving me toward the future I want, or is it anchoring me to the past I'm trying to escape? If it is the latter, drop it. Do not analyze it, do not justify it, and do not hold a funeral for it. Simply let it go. You are not your feelings, you are the awareness that observes them. If procrastination were a profession, you would be up for a promotion. You have used it as a shield to protect yourself from the possibility of failure, but all you have really done is protect yourself from success. You are arguing for your limitations again. You are convinced that you need more time, more money, or more readiness before you can feel the way you want to feel. That is a lie. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. The prison door is unlocked. You have always held the key. It is the simple, radical decision to stop feeling like a victim and start feeling like a master. It will feel strange at first. It will feel uncomfortable. You will want to return to the drama of your old life because it is predictable. But remember, the comfort zone is the place where dreams go to die. You have become very skilled at being you. Now, you must become skilled at being the person you are becoming. Stop negotiating with your potential. Stop settling for the emotions of the person you were yesterday. Step out of the prison of your own habits and into the freedom of your true creative power. Feel the victory before you see the evidence. That is how you break the chains. Summary. The habit of limitation. You are not a prisoner of circumstances but of habitual emotional reactions practiced over time. The chemistry of comfort. Your body is addicted to the familiar, even when that familiar state is painful or limiting. The power of the pause. Mastering your future requires creating a space between an external trigger and your internal response. Emotional hygiene. Actively monitor your thoughts and feelings, treat them as data to be evaluated rather than absolute truths. The false need for permission, procrastination and waiting for readiness are excuses. Chapter 4. Assume the future before it arrives. You have spent your life looking for evidence before you commit to a feeling. You look for the bank deposit before you feel prosperous, you look for the wedding ring before you feel loved, you look for the trophy before you feel successful. You are moving through life in the wrong direction. You are attempting to collect the harvest before you have even planted the seeds. This is the great reversal you must master. You must assume the feeling of the future before it arrives. Most people treat the future as a destination they are traveling toward. They believe that if they work hard enough, they will eventually arrive at a place where they can finally feel relief, satisfaction, or joy. But you do not travel to the future. The future is an energy that you pull into your present through your state of consciousness. If you wait for the physical world to provide the evidence, you are always living in the past, because the physical world is merely the echo of what you were feeling yesterday. To assume the future, you must practice the art of living from the end. Imagine for a moment that your desire has already been fulfilled. It is done. The result is a reality. Stop trying to figure out how it will happen, that is not your job. Your job is to inhabit the feeling of the outcome. If you want a new career, don't focus on the interviews or the resume, focus on the feeling of relief, professional fulfillment, and the quiet confidence that comes from doing work that aligns with your purpose. When you do this, you are not engaging in fantasy. You are engaging in a higher form of reality. You are shifting your internal frequency to match the vibration of the reality you wish to inhabit. The physical world is stubborn, it is slow to change. But your consciousness is instantaneous. You can shift your entire state of being in a single heartbeat. When you change how you feel, you change the signal you are sending to the infinite intelligence of the universe. You might argue, but that feels like lying to myself. That is your ego speaking, trying to protect you from the possibility of being wrong. You are so committed to the facts of your current circumstances that you are afraid to look beyond them. You are arguing for your limitations again. You are convinced that honesty requires you to acknowledge your struggle, but the only truth that matters is the truth you choose to occupy. If you want to create a new identity, you must be willing to leave the old one behind. You cannot be the person you are and the person you want to be at the same time. You have to let the old self die. The old self is attached to the struggle, the old self is attached to the how. The old self is waiting for permission. The new self, the creator self, already knows it is done. It operates from a position of ownership, not a position of desire. Desire implies lack. As long as you are desiring your future, you are affirming that it is not yet yours. You are creating a gap between you and your goal. But when you assume the future, you close that gap. You start acting, thinking, and feeling as if the goal is already a fundamental part of your identity. You stop chasing the light and start being the lighthouse. This is not about ignoring your current life, it is about refusing to let your current life define your future. It is about emotional embodiment. When you wake up, do not reach for the old reality by checking your stressors. Reach for the new reality by anchoring yourself in the feeling of the life you are creating. How does it feel to be free of that debt? How does it feel to have that project completed? How does it feel to wake up in that state of absolute certainty? Hold that feeling. Don't just think about it, feel it. Let it saturate your nervous system. Let it become the background hum of your day. Even when the physical world pushes back, even when you see evidence that seems to contradict your vision, do not let go. That is the test. The world will try to pull you back into the old frequency. It will try to convince you that you are foolish for acting as if things have already changed. That is the moment of truth. That is where you decide if you are a passenger or a creator. You have been waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for someone to hand you the keys to your own life. But the keys have always been in your hand, you have just been using them to keep the door locked from the inside. You are overcomplicating it. You think you need a complex strategy or a grand plan. You don't. You need a shift in perspective. You need the courage to feel successful while your bank account is empty. You need the courage to feel loved while you are currently alone. You need the courage to feel like a master while you are still learning the ropes. Your future self is watching this choice. They are waiting for you to stop negotiating with your potential and to finally, fully, assume the state of their reality. The bridge between who you are and who you want to be is built with the bricks of your own feelings. Stop looking at the gap. Start walking across the bridge. Feel it first. Believe that the future you desire is not something you are going to get, it is something you are returning to. It is the truth of who you are, waiting for you to align with it. When you do, the circumstances will have no choice but to follow. Summary. Reversing the process, stop waiting for physical evidence to feel the way you want, use your feelings to attract the evidence. Living from the end. Operate as if your goal is already a reality, detaching from the how and focusing on the state of being. The trap of desire, desiring, creates a state of lack, assuming, creates a state of fulfillment and closes the gap. Defying the facts, true creation requires the courage to ignore current appearances and hold the frequency of your vision. Identity transformation, you must shed your old identity to make space for the new one, you can. Chapter 5, The Subconscious Never Sleeps. You are rarely more active than when you appear to be doing nothing at all. During your waking hours, you are bombarded by sensory input, social obligations, and the constant friction of the physical world. You are so busy reacting to the now that you have little space for the deep, structural work of creation. But when you close your eyes, the doors to the physical world swing shut, and the gates to the infinite creative workshop of your subconscious swing wide open. The subconscious never sleeps. While your conscious mind drifts into the dream state, your subconscious remains on duty, diligently tending to the emotional garden you planted throughout the day. It does not pause. It does not take a break. It is constantly processing the impressions you left behind, working tirelessly to turn your dominant feelings into the architecture of your tomorrow. If you go to sleep feeling anxious, frustrated, or defeated, you are handing your subconscious a set of blueprints for a future of more anxiety, frustration, and defeat. You are, in effect, instructing your internal engine to continue the work of the previous day, amplifying the very patterns that are keeping you stuck. This is why you wake up feeling like you are already behind, why the same worries greet you before your eyes have even fully opened. You are hitting the repeat button on your own life. You must become the guardian of your final thoughts. The period just before you drift into sleep is the most fertile, high-stakes time of your day. In this twilight state, the bridge between the waking mind and the vast, receptive field of the subconscious, you have the power to program your reality. You are waiting for permission to change, but you have always had the authority. Why would you waste the most creative window of your day on a review of your failures, your regrets, or your list of problems? Stop arguing for your limitations again. That is just your ego trying to maintain the status quo. Instead, take control. Practice the art of conscious entry. Before you close your eyes, do not reach for your phone or scroll through the problems of the world. Clear your space. Bring your attention to the feeling of your desire already fulfilled. Don't worry about the logic. The subconscious doesn't understand logic, it only understands emotion. If you want to feel a sense of professional mastery, feel the relief of a job well done. If you want to feel the warmth of a loving relationship, feel the sensation of being held, of being understood, of being completely at home with another person. Hold that specific emotional signature. Sustain it. Let it become the last thing you feel before you slip over the edge into slumber. When you do this, you are planting seeds in the deepest part of your consciousness, where they will germinate in the silence of the night. Your subconscious will spend the hours of your rest aligning your inner reality with that feeling. You will find that you wake up with a different perspective, a clearer intuition, or even a sudden solution to a problem that seemed insurmountable the night before. You are not just resting, you are aligning. There is a simple, actionable exercise you must adopt starting tonight, the review of success. Instead of the review of failures that most people perform, obsessing over what went wrong, who said what, and where you fell short, conduct a mental sweep of the day, but rewrite it. If you were reactive in a meeting, visualize yourself being calm and authoritative instead. If you spent the day in a state of scarcity, shift the image and feel the rush of abundance. See it. Feel it. Let it become the final scene of your day. You are not lying, you are practicing for the life you have decided to lead. You are taking the raw material of your day and refining it into the gold of your future. You have been giving away your power to the external world, assuming that you are a victim of your own history. You are overcomplicating it. You think you need to grind, struggle, and force your way into a new life. But the most powerful work is done in the surrender of the struggle. It is done in the gentle, consistent, and deliberate occupation of the state you intend to realize. The subconscious is an expert at manifestation, it just needs a clear, persistent direction. It doesn't need your logic, and it doesn't need your explanations. It needs your feelings. If you provide it with the consistent feeling of success, it will ignore all the facts of your current poverty. It will ignore your lack of connections. It will ignore your previous failures. It will bypass all of that and begin to reorganize your reality to reflect the state you held as you went to sleep. You are negotiating with your potential by letting your nights be consumed by the same old, tired worries. Stop. The comfort zone called, and it's time to move out. You are not here to maintain your history. You are here to write about your future. Tonight, do not go to sleep as the person you were today. Go to sleep as the person you are becoming. Feel that identity. Breathe it in. Let the reality of it wash over you until you feel it as a physical fact in your very bones. Then, let go. Trust the process. The subconscious is working. It never sleeps, and it is ready to create whatever world you are brave enough to feel. Summary. The creative window. The moments before sleep are the most critical time for subconscious programming. What you feel before drifting off sets the tone for your inner work at night. The guardian of final thoughts, you must actively guard against falling asleep in a state of worry or lack, as this anchors those states into your subconscious. The review of success. Replace the habit of dwelling on daily failures with a mental review, where you consciously rescript the day to align with your desired future. Surrender the struggle. True creation is not a grind, it is the effortless, persistent occupation of the feeling of your desire. Actionable alignment. Use the conscious entry technique to plant specific, high-frequency emotional seeds before sleep, allowing your subconscious. Chapter 6, The Feeling of Abundance. You look at your bank account and feel a contraction. You look at the market trends and feel a tightening in your throat. You look at your to-do list and feel the weight of everything you lack. You call this being realistic. You call this managing your finances. I call it the fastest way to ensure you never experience true prosperity. You are acting as if money is a resource that lives outside of you, a scarce commodity that you must chase, capture, and hoard. But that is your ego talking. That is a survival program handed down to you by a world that thrives on the illusion of limits. You have become very committed to the story of not enough, and as long as you are committed to that story, your reality will continue to provide the evidence of your lack. Wealth is not a number on a statement. Wealth is a frequency. It is a state of being that says, I am an extension of the infinite, and the infinite is abundant. When you feel the need to chase money, you are announcing to the universe that you are separate from it. You are essentially saying, I am empty, and I need something from out there to make me full. But the subconscious does not know the difference between, I want, and, I am. When you feel the fear of lack, the subconscious registers that as your permanent state. It does not hear your prayers for more money, it feels your conviction of poverty. You are literally manifesting more of the same struggle because that is the emotional signal you are broadcasting. It is time to stop arguing for your limitations. It is time to stop giving away your power to the external economy. You are the source. If you want to change your financial reality, you must change your financial identity. You have to stop feeling like the person who is struggling to get by and start feeling like the person who is already circulating abundance. How do you do this when the physical evidence says otherwise? You do it through emotional embodiment. You find the feeling of abundance now, in the middle of your current circumstances. Close your eyes and feel the sensation of having more than enough. Not just the money, feel the freedom. Feel the weight of the burden leaving your shoulders. Feel the lightness of a schedule that is no longer dictated by scarcity. Feel the gratitude for the life you are living, not because of what you own, but because of who you are. This feeling of already having is the magnet that pulls the physical evidence toward you. When you move through your day with the internal posture of abundance, you behave differently. You stop haggling with your own potential. You stop making decisions based on fear and start making them based on expansion. You stop waiting for permission from the world and start realizing that you are the one who decides what your worth is. You are overcomplicating it. You think you need to figure out the how of the wealth before you can feel the feeling. You are waiting for the evidence before you commit to the state. That is the old way, and it is a trap. The new way is to occupy the state of the wealthy person, regardless of what your bank balance says. Be honest with yourself. When you pay a bill, do you do it with a sense of loss, or do you do it with a sense of gratitude for the service you received? That small emotional shift is the difference between a life of scarcity and a life of prosperity. You must learn to release money without the feeling of losing it. Every dollar you spend is a seed of expansion. If you spend it with fear, you plant a weed. If you spend it with faith, you plant a harvest. You have been waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the perfect investment, the perfect job, or the perfect windfall. You are negotiating with your potential. But prosperity is not something you get eventually, it is something you become now. Stop treating your life as a series of problems to be solved. Treat it as a creation to be enjoyed. The person who is truly abundant does not worry about the future. They have already felt it, they have already owned it, and they are already living it in the chambers of their own consciousness. The comfort zone called, and it's time to move out. You are not meant to struggle. You are meant to expand. But you cannot expand into a new level of wealth while holding on to the emotional frequency of lack. It is physically impossible. You must let go of the old story. You must stop identifying with the struggle. Start small. Feel the abundance of the breath in your lungs. Feel the abundance of the opportunities that surround you, even if you haven't taken them yet. Feel the abundance of your own creative capability. When you begin to feel prosperous in the small things, the subconscious will have no choice but to magnify that frequency. You are a powerhouse of creation. Stop using your power to maintain your lack. Use it to build your empire. The universe is waiting for you to stop the struggle and start the ownership. The prosperity you seek is not coming to you, it is waiting for you to realize it is already here, hidden just beneath the surface of your own emotional state. Feel the wealth. Claim the identity. Watch the world rearrange its resources to support the person you have become. Summary. Wealth as frequency. Prosperity is not a physical commodity but an internal state of being. Chasing money from a place of lack only reinforces the absence of it. The identity shift. You must stop identifying as someone who struggles and start identifying as someone who is inherently abundant. The emotional audit. Every financial transaction is an emotional signal. Spending with fear plants seeds of lack, while spending with gratitude plants seeds of expansion. Refusal to chase. You must stop waiting for external evidence and begin occupying the feeling of abundance immediately to bypass the physical delay. Practical abundance. Start by practicing the feeling of prosperity in daily, small-scale areas to build the subconscious habit. Chapter 7. The emotional frequency of love. You have been looking for love in the most inconvenient places. You have been searching for it in the approval of your peers, the attention of your partner, or the validation of people who barely understand you. You have treated love as a commodity, something to be earned, negotiated, or guarded. You believe that if you act a certain way, or look a certain way, or achieve a certain status, then, and only then, will you be worthy of the love you crave. That is your ego talking. That is the voice of the wounded child, not the master of your own destiny. You have been waiting for permission to be whole, but no one is going to give it to you. You are waiting for the world to fill a void that only you can fill. Love is not a reaction to someone else's presence, it is the fundamental frequency of your own consciousness. When you are in a state of self-loathing, or when you are constantly monitoring your own value based on the responses of others, you are signaling to the universe that you are incomplete. And the universe, ever obedient, will reflect that incompleteness back to you by providing relationships that reinforce your own lack of worth. You are arguing for your limitations again. You are convinced that your loneliness or your relationship struggles are facts about your life. They are not. They are the symptoms of an internal imbalance. You are looking at the reflection in the mirror, your external relationships, and trying to fix the image by manipulating the people in your life, when you should be shifting your own frequency. You must stop giving away your power. You are not a victim of your past relationships, and you are not a beggar for affection. You are an infinite being, and your capacity to love is the most potent creative force you possess. But it must start at the source. It must start with you. This is not about vanity or ego, it is about self-concept. What is the story you tell yourself about your own worthiness? When you are alone, are you comfortable in your own presence, or are you desperate for a distraction? If you cannot stand to be with yourself, why would you expect anyone else to? You are overcomplicating it. You think you need a partner to complete you. You think you need external validation to feel seen. But the person who radiates self-love is an unstoppable magnet. When you occupy the state of someone who is already whole, someone who is already deeply loved and profoundly secure, you cease to need anything from anyone. And in that detachment, you become irresistible. You have become very committed to a story of being unlovable or misunderstood. You are holding on to that story like a protective shield, fearing that if you let it go, you might be hurt again. That is a convenient excuse for staying small. You are negotiating with your potential by refusing to be the person who is capable of receiving the love you desire. Start practicing radical self-ownership. Stop looking for the how of your relationships. Stop analyzing why your past failed. That is history, and you are not here to repeat your history. You are here to evolve. Focus entirely on the feeling of being loved. Not the feeling of wanting to be loved, but the feeling of already being cherished, supported, and understood. How would you carry yourself if you knew, with absolute certainty, that you were deeply valuable? How would you treat your own body, your own time, and your own mind? If you practice treating yourself with the same adoration you seek from others, you would find that the vacuum you have been trying to fill would vanish. You are waiting for the right person to arrive so you can finally feel enough. But you must be enough before they can arrive. The law of correspondence is absolute. Your external relationships will always be a mirror of your internal self-concept. If you feel unworthy, you will attract those who confirm your unworthiness. If you feel complete, you will attract those who add to your completion, not those who subtract from your peace. The comfort zone is called. It wants you to keep feeling needy, keep feeling anxious, and keep searching for your value in the eyes of others. Don't go back. You are a creator. You are the architect of your own emotional reality. Tonight, sit in the silence of your own company and feel the warmth of the love you have been seeking. Let it rise from within you. Let it fill the spaces where you previously felt empty. Feel it so vividly that you no longer feel the need to ask for it from the world. When you reach that state of emotional autonomy, you have arrived. You have become the frequency that attracts the highest possible version of human connection. Stop waiting. Start owning. You are the love you have been looking for. When you finally recognize that, the world will have no choice but to recognize it, too. Summary. The internal source, love is not an external reward to be earned through behavior or status, it is a frequency that originates within your own consciousness. The mirror of relationships, your external relationships are a perfect reflection of your internal self-concept. To change your partners, you must first change your self-perception. Detachment as magnetism, needing validation creates a vacuum of lack that repels others, becoming self-sufficient in your own worth makes you naturally magnetic. Radical self-ownership, act as if you are already the person who deserves the love you want, treat yourself with the adoration you seek from others. Emotional autonomy, stop waiting for the one to complete you, you must become whole first, and then allow the right connections to naturally align with your frequency. Chapter 8, Surrender, the missing ingredient. You have been working very hard to make your life happen. You have been pushing, straining, and forcing your will upon the world, convinced that if you just exert enough effort, you can overcome any obstacle. You treat your desires like a wall that you must climb, and you approach every day as a battle. But the harder you fight, the more resistance you create. You are exhausted, and you are not getting the results you want. That is your ego talking. It loves the struggle because the struggle makes it feel important. It wants you to believe that you are the sole author of your life, that if you let go for even a second, everything will fall apart. But you are forgetting the most important partner in your creative process, the infinite intelligence that animates the universe. This is the great paradox of mastery, you must become intensely focused, yet completely detached. You must choose your destination with absolute clarity, but then you must surrender the how. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is not resignation. Surrender is the ultimate act of faith. It is the recognition that while you are the architect of your desires, you are not the sole builder. There are currents in the ocean of consciousness that are far more powerful than your own manual labor. When you surrender, you stop swimming against those currents and start letting them carry you toward your vision. You have been arguing for your limitations again. You are convinced that if you don't micromanage every detail, the universe will fail to deliver. You are afraid that if you stop worrying, you will stop progressing. That is a convenient excuse for your anxiety. You are confusing stress for productivity. You are giving away your power by letting the fear of the unknown dictate your emotional state. When you hold on to your desires with a clenched fist, you are signaling to your subconscious that you don't trust the outcome. You are operating from a place of trying to get, which is the very frequency of lack. True manifestation requires the calm assurance of someone who knows the check is already in the mail. When you know something is yours, you don't run around in a panic trying to track it down. You relax. You carry yourself with the grace of someone who has nothing to lose. Surrender accelerates the process because it removes the friction of your resistance. Every moment you spend obsessing over the timing, the method, or the obstacles is a moment you are blocking the flow. You are essentially telling the universe, I don't trust you, so I'll do it myself. And the universe, being a perfect reflection, will step back and let you handle it. And you know how that goes, it's always harder than it needs to be. The comfort zone called, it wants you to keep gripping the steering wheel so tight your knuckles turn white. It wants you to keep feeling like it all depends on you. But you are part of a much larger, more intelligent system. You are here to hold the vision and feel the frequency, you are not here to force the physical pieces into place. That is the work of divine timing, which acts with a precision you could never manually replicate. How do you practice surrender? You do it by choosing peace over panic every time a doubt arises. When you find yourself asking, when will it happen, or how will it happen, catch yourself. Recognize that as the ego's attempt to regain control. Then, consciously release the question. Breathe into the space where the fear was and replace it with the feeling of relief. Say to yourself, I have done my part. The internal work is done. The external result is now unfolding in the perfect way, at the perfect time. This is not a passive waiting. This is active trust. You are standing in the conviction of your outcome, not waiting for it to show up before you believe it. The person who has truly surrendered is the person who has stopped negotiating with their potential. They have made the decision, felt the feeling, and now they are walking through their life with an open hand, ready to receive. You are overcomplicating it. You think you need to be in a constant state of doing to justify your existence. But you are a human being, not a human doing. Your value is not tied to your productivity, it is tied to your consciousness. When you elevate your consciousness through surrender, you become more effective in an hour than you previously were in a month. You are no longer wasting energy on the friction of resistance. Trust the intelligence that runs the stars. It has moved you this far, it will move you to your next level. Your job is to stay in the feeling of the desired outcome and keep your hands off the steering wheel. When you finally release your grip, Chapter 9, Reprogramming the Inner Identity. You have been playing small for so long that you have started to believe smallness is your nature. You have built an identity around your failures, your limitations, and your history. You define yourself by what you haven't done, who left you, and what you lack. You have mistaken your past for your potential, and you have become the gatekeeper of your own cage. It is time to be honest with yourself. You are currently acting like a person who is unworthy of the very life you claim to want. You are overcomplicating it by looking for external strategies, new skills, or better circumstances, when the only thing that needs to be upgraded is the you who is experiencing your life. Your identity is the lens through which you see the world. If you view yourself as a victim, you will see a world full of predators and injustice. If you view yourself as a struggler, you will see a world full of obstacles and scarcity. You cannot outmanifest your self-image. You will always revert to the behavior that feels consistent with the person you believe yourself to be. If you want a different life, you must become a different person. You must undergo an identity transformation. This does not mean you have to change your personality or become someone you are not. It means you must shed the layers of not you that you have accumulated over the years. You must strip away the stories of inadequacy that your ego has sold you. You are not the things that happen to you. You are the awareness that witnessed those events. You are waiting for permission to change, but you are the only one holding the pen. Start by conducting an identity audit. Ask yourself, what would the version of me who has already achieved my goals believe? That person does not worry about the small setbacks. They do not tolerate self-doubt. They do not wait for validation. They walk with the quiet authority of someone who knows their own value. That version of you already exists in the realm of consciousness. You are not inventing them, you are remembering them. You are tapping into the higher self that has been waiting for you to stop negotiating with your potential. Start acting the part. This is not, fake it till you make it. That implies you are a fraud. This is, become it until it becomes you. If you want to be a leader, start making decisions like a leader today, even if your current sphere of influence is small. If you want to be a wealthy person, start treating your time, your health, and your thoughts with the discipline of a wealthy person. You are conditioning your nervous system to accept this new identity as your new baseline. You are arguing for your limitations again. You say, but that's not who I am. Exactly. That is who you were. You are no longer that person. You have chosen to evolve. The comfort zone called, and it's time to stop answering the phone. It wants you to remain the same person, experiencing the same problems, so that it doesn't have to change. Your ego is terrified of this identity shift because it means the old you has to die. Let it die. You must become ruthless with your internal narrative. When a thought of doubt arises, I'm not experienced enough, I'm not ready. Identify it immediately. Say, that is not who I am anymore. That is a ghost of my past. Do not entertain it. Do not argue with it. Replace it with the truth of your new identity. Reprogramming your identity requires repetition. You have spent decades building the old you, you must be willing to spend a fraction of that time deliberately constructing the new you. Every time you consciously choose a thought that aligns with your new identity, you are wiring your brain for success. Every time you act in alignment with your future self, you are signaling to the universe that you are ready for the upgrade. You are a powerhouse of creation, but you have been using your power to keep yourself small. Stop. Use your power to expand. Become the person who naturally receives the outcomes you desire. When you change who you are at the core, you don't even have to chase the results, they begin to chase you. Tonight, before you sleep, visualize the version of you who is living the life you desire. Look through their eyes. Feel the confidence in their posture. Hear the way they speak. Step into their skin. Feel what it feels like to be them. Do this until the old you feels like a stranger and the new you feels like home. You are not changing your life, you are changing the one who lives it. And when you change the one who lives it, everything else has to change to match. Summary. The identity ceiling, your reality cannot exceed your self-image, you must upgrade the you before you can upgrade your life. Identity audit, identify the beliefs that limit you and consciously replace them with the values and traits of your future self. Becoming versus faking, you aren't faking a new identity, you are aligning with a higher version of your true self that already exists in consciousness. The death of the old self. You must be willing to let go of the past version of yourself, including the safety of your limitations, to facilitate growth. Repetition as rewiring, identity is built through consistent, conscious choices that reinforce your new self-image until it becomes your. Chapter 10, The Power of Imagination. You have been told that imagination is for children, that it is a distraction from the serious work of reality. You have been conditioned to value the physical over the mental, the concrete over the abstract. You believe that if you cannot touch it, it is not real. This is the greatest mistake you could ever make. Imagination is not a whimsical escape, it is the laboratory of the universe. It is the workshop where destiny is designed. Every object you see in the physical world, the chair you sit on, the device you use, the buildings that define your city, began as an image in the imagination of a person who refused to accept the world as it was. You are a creator, and your imagination is the creative instrument of your higher self. When you visualize a future in your mind, you are not playing a game, you are projecting a blueprint into the field of infinite intelligence. The subconscious does not distinguish between a vivid, emotionally charged experience in your mind and a physical event in your life. To your inner core, if you have felt it and seen it clearly, it is already happening. You are overcomplicating it by trying to use force to change your life. You are trying to move mountains with your bare hands, when you should be using the power of your imagination to move the mountain within. You are arguing for your limitations again. You say, visualization doesn't work for me. That is your ego talking, trying to convince you that you are powerless. The truth is that you are always imagining, but you have been imagining the wrong things. You have been using your creative power to rehearse your failures, to imagine the arguments you will have, to worry about the bills you cannot pay, and to fear the outcomes you don't want. You have been a master of negative visualization. It is time to pivot. You must become a conscious creator. Imagination, when combined with feeling, is the ultimate bridge to your future. Stop waiting for external permission to use your mind. Start practicing future memory. Instead of remembering the past, which only serves to lock you into the same old emotional patterns, start remembering the future. See yourself in the situation you desire. But do not just watch it like a movie, step into it. Feel the texture of the environment. Feel the emotion of having already achieved it. If you want to be a successful speaker, feel the energy of the audience, the warmth of the microphone, and the satisfaction of delivering your message. Feel the relief of having left the struggle behind. The more emotionally real you make the mental scene, the more solid it becomes for the subconscious. You are feeding it the data it needs to construct your new reality. You are negotiating with your potential by letting your mind wander into fear. The comfort zone called, it wants you to keep imagining the worst-case scenario because that is what feels safe. But you are not here to stay safe, you are here to grow. Every time you catch your mind spiraling into worry, hit the stop button. Replace the worry with a scene of your desire fulfilled. You must be consistent. This is not something you do once and then go back to your old ways. It is a daily discipline of mental rehearsal. Athletes do this to master their sports, and masters of life do this to master their destinies. You are building neural pathways of success. You are conditioning your brain to recognize the opportunities that will lead you to your goal. You think you are waiting for a breakthrough, but the breakthrough is waiting for you to clear the clutter of your own mind. You are overcomplicating it. You don't need a complex system. You need the courage to close your eyes, shut out the noise of the physical world, and occupy the reality of your choice. When you dwell in the feeling of your desire, you are not just hoping, you are calling. You are sending a signal out into the ether that says, I am here, and this is my truth. The universe is a perfect echo. It will return to you exactly what you have sent out. The comfort zone is a prison of your own making, built with the bricks of your own restricted imagination. Tear it down. Build your future in the sanctuary of your mind. See it, feel it, and then be the person who walks in that reality today. The physical world is just waiting for you to decide what is real. Make your decision, hold it with feeling, and then watch the universe scramble to accommodate your vision. Summary. The laboratory of destiny, imagination is not a distraction, it is the primary tool used to design your life before it appears in the physical realm. The equalization of reality. The subconscious treats a vividly imagined, emotionally felt event as an objective fact. Use this to program your desired outcomes. Pivoting the power, you are already using your imagination to visualize failures and worries. You must consciously redirect this power toward your desired future. Future memory, stop recalling the past, start remembering your future by mentally rehearsing your success until it feels as real as a memory. Mental discipline, treat your imagination like a muscle. Constant, emotional rehearsal of your vision builds the neural pathways that lead to your goal. Chapter 11, Becoming a Conscious Creator. You have spent years treating your life as a series of events that happen to you. You are the victim of the economy, the victim of your boss, the victim of your upbringing, and the victim of your own luck. You talk about your life as if it were a script written by someone else, a story in which you have no say. But that is the ultimate act of self-deception. It is a convenient story that relieves you of the burden of responsibility, but it also strips you of your power. It is time to stop playing the victim. It is time to wake up to the truth. You are not experiencing reality, you are experiencing your own consciousness projected into form. The moment you accept full, radical responsibility for every aspect of your life, everything changes. As long as you believe that the problem is out there, you will remain trapped in the cycle of struggling, pushing, and reacting. You are waiting for the world to change so you can finally be happy. That is the definition of a reactive life. A conscious creator does not wait. A conscious creator realizes that the world is a mirror, and if they want to see something different, they must stand in a different emotional light. You are overcomplicating it. You think you need a degree in philosophy or a decade of meditation to manifest. You don't. You need to grow up and take the wheel. You are the driver of your vehicle, but you have been sitting in the back seat, shouting directions at a driver who isn't even there. Stop arguing for your limitations again. When you say, I can't help how I feel, you are lying to yourself. You are the only person who has access to your inner world. You are the only one who can decide which thoughts to entertain and which feelings to nurture. If you are feeling discouraged, that is a choice you are making, a habit you are indulging. If you are feeling anxious, that is a state you are choosing to occupy. The comfort zone called, it wants you to stay a victim because victims don't have to work. Victims get to complain, and they get to seek sympathy. But you are not here for sympathy. You are here for mastery. To become a conscious creator, you must develop emotional discipline. This is the hardest part of the journey. When things go wrong in the physical world, and they will, because the old momentum takes time to dissipate, you must stay anchored in your new state. You must be the steady hand in the storm. When you see evidence of your old life, do not let it trigger the old feelings. Treat it like a stale piece of mail from an address you no longer live at. Ignore it. You are already living in the new house. This requires a new level of awareness. You must observe yourself throughout the day. Are you reacting with fear when you see a low balance? That's your old self. Are you feeling defensive when you receive criticism? That's your old self. Every time you catch yourself acting from the old identity, pause and intentionally shift your state. Feel what it feels like to be the person who is already successful, already secure, and already free. You are negotiating with your potential by letting yourself drift into negative states. You think, I'll just let myself be upset for an hour. But that hour is a seed. That hour is a command to your subconscious. You are overestimating how much control you have over the external, and underestimating how much control you have over the internal. You are waiting for permission to be powerful, but you are the only one who can grant it. Stop looking for signs from the outside. The sign is the fact that you are here, reading this, realizing that you have been asleep at the wheel. The sign is the stir of discontent in your soul, that is your higher self telling you it is time to wake up. Start today. Every time you encounter a challenge, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, how can I feel in this moment that will move me toward my goal? That is the question of a master. That is the question of a conscious creator. When you take responsibility, you stop asking the universe to save you, and you start asking the universe to cooperate with you. And it will. The universe loves a creator. It loves someone who has stopped making excuses and started making decisions. You are the authority of your reality. Stop giving your power away to circumstances. Stop negotiating with the past. The future is an empty canvas, and you are holding the brush. What are you going to paint? Choose the feeling, commit to the state, and watch as the physical world bows to the clarity of your intention. You are not here to observe your life, you are here to dictate it. Summary. Radical responsibility. You must move from a victim mentality, where circumstances dictate your life, to a creator mentality, where your consciousness dictates your circumstances. The mirror principle. Since the world is a reflection of your inner state, any attempt to fix the mirror, without fixing the source, is an exercise in futility. Emotional discipline, mastery is not about avoiding challenges, it is about maintaining your desired frequency even when the physical world pushes back. Stopping the drift, you are the gatekeeper of your emotional state. Indulging in temporary, negative emotions is actually a powerful command to the subconscious to recreate those states. The creator's inquiry. Replace the victim's question, why is this happening to me, with the creator's question, how can I feel? Chapter 12, Feel it first, live it second. We have traveled a great distance, from the invisible force of mental causation to the absolute mastery of your own consciousness. We have stripped away the excuses, dismantled the victim mentality, and examined the deep mechanics of the subconscious mind. By now, you should see clearly that your life is not a fixed, objective reality that you are forced to endure. It is a dynamic, fluid creation that is constantly responding to the emotional frequency you occupy. You have learned that the world does not move first. It never has, and it never will. The world is a mirror, a perfectly obedient servant that reflects exactly what you feel to be true. You have spent years waiting for the bank balance, the relationship, or the promotion to appear so that you could finally permit yourself to feel successful, loved, and secure. You were waiting for the harvest before you had even prepared the soil. That was the old way. That was the way of the reactor. You are finished with that. The path of the conscious creator is simple. though it requires a level of discipline that most will never attain. It is the path of feeling it first. You find the frequency of your desire, that profound, unshakable feeling of already having attained your goal, and you anchor yourself in that state. You do this in the silence of your own mind, in the quiet before sleep, and in the deliberate choices you make when the world tries to provoke a reaction from you. You do not wait for the physical evidence. You treat the feeling as evidence. When you feel the security of wealth before the money arrives, you are creating the magnetic signal that calls the money to you. When you feel the warmth of love before the partner appears, you are building the home that the right relationship will eventually enter. When you feel the peace of success before the accolades arrive, you are already standing on the summit while everyone else is still debating the climb. You have been arguing for your limitations again. You might still be thinking, but how long will it take? That is your ego trying to reassert control, trying to introduce the illusion of time into a process that exists in the eternal present. Stop worrying about the timeline. The moment you truly and fully occupy the feeling, the work is done in the realm of consciousness. The physical world is merely catching up. It is the echo of the voice that has already spoken. You are overcomplicating it. You don't need more information. You don't need a more complex system. You need the courage to be consistent. You need the willingness to ignore the facts of your current circumstance when they contradict the vision you have chosen to hold. You need the internal authority to decide, once and for all, that your inner world is the only world that matters. You have been negotiating with your potential for far too long. The comfort zone called. It is still there, waiting for you to get tired, waiting for you to give up, waiting for you to return to the drama of your old, small life. Do not give it satisfaction. You have awakened to the power of your own imagination. You have realized that you are the architect of your own destiny. There is no out there. There is only the projection of your own emotional state. So, choose your state carefully. Every feeling you entertain is an instruction. Every emotion you harbor is a command. You are the architect, and your feelings are the blueprints. If you build with the fear of the past, you will repeat the past. If you build with the faith of the future, you will create the future. Your future self is already watching, and they are already living in the reality you are currently designing. They are grateful that you finally stopped waiting, that you finally stopped arguing for your limitations, and that you finally started taking responsibility for the engine of your own consciousness. You have all the power you will ever need. You have the tools, the wisdom, and the authority. All that remains is for you to step into the role. Feel the abundance before the coins appear. Feel the peace before the storm breaks. Feel the love before the validation arrives. Feel the worthiness before the recognition is granted. Feel the freedom before the chains fall away. Do not look at the physical world for your answer. Look at your own heart. If you feel it, it is already yours. The world has no choice but to follow. Feel it first. Then watch reality catch up. Summary. The completion of the cycle, the entire journey boils down to one fundamental truth: you must occupy the emotional state of your desire before it manifests physically. Reversing the sequence. Stop waiting for evidence to validate your feelings, use your feelings to force the evidence into existence. The persistence of the Creator, the physical world is an echo. Keep the frequency of your vision steady, regardless of the facts you see in your current reality. The rejection of the comfort zone. Mastery requires a permanent shift in identity. You must be willing to abandon the safety of your old, limited life to step into your new creative power. The final command. Your feelings are instructions to the subconscious. Guard them with discipline, occupy them with certainty, and watch as your physical world rearranges itself